All right, sorry about that. So VPOC is down below at 1906. Weakness, weakness. We're getting a little two-sided trading here, but if we start getting strength back into the bid, I'm going to look to take this breakout and see if we can't get back up to 10 and higher. So weakness, weakness, weakness. I want to see buyers start to pop. I don't want to see that weakness back at the bid here, or at the offer at 1908 quarter. Just so you know, I do not look at any questions while I'm in a trade. If you're sending me questions, I'm watching this print earnestly. All right, I want to see this get to at least 1909, 1909 quarter. Okay. This is opening swing high. Now I want to see it pop above opening swing high. 1909 quarter. Come on, baby needs shoes. Baby needs shoes. Come on. What I'm looking for is a move back up to this. This looks a little unfinished to me. There we go. Now, this is where I use the volume cluster analysis. You see the volume cluster analysis right here. Right here. So I'm putting in my stop right here at 1908.25. The reason is because I have weakness at the offer right here. And then the buying coming in here. So I've got my stop right in behind it. Make sense? I did look at the question here. Do I focus on the number of contracts or the color? Both. And I can tell you again, you know, some of this just takes time. And I have been using the print to trade with for so long that it didn't take me long. My learning curve was not steep at all with OFA. Once I set the colors and had a little bit of experience with them and understood what they meant to me, then all was good. All was real good. So the colors and the numbers for me right now work together significantly to help me manage trades. Now, what I don't really want to see is another move back down to 1907, 1906.75. You know, sometimes you get into the trades and you just want to say, come on already, let's go. Let's go. Yeah, look at that. So, yeah, might get taken out here. All right, well, that's the way it goes. And there is weakness at the bid, strength at the offer, and that may be a good spot again. But you got to take your stops where you take them. All right, after my trade is over, can I talk about what made you decide to switch from a pullback to a breakout strategy? And is it possible to come up with a general principle uh, what alerts to consider switching? All right, so I'm going to step away from the trade to talk through the trade I just made. Are you okay with that? So my objective for the day is 500, and I'm $75 away from my objective. Now, if each of you could make $500 a day, would that be a good thing? Good. All right. So, why did I consider going to a breakout as opposed to a pullback strategy? The reason I wanted the breakout, and you can see the pullback would have worked well too, right? So I got in here, and it came down. This would have been a good strategy to watch it pull back, and I might have gotten a tick better price, maybe. The reason I did that is because in looking, I'm going to scrunch this up a little bit, and looking at the profile, I see a relative finish to the downside. So, you know, my eye just kind of fills this stuff in. What I see to the downside overall is that as price is moving lower, there's less participation. BPOC is higher. When I look at the auction profile to the upside, there's a little bit of a finish to the upside as well. But this tried testing lower 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And in every single case, as it tested lower, let me bring this over. In every single case as it tested lower, we had one time, the first time, where there was some strength at the bid. And then weakness, 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 weakness. And then when it tested lower again, weakness, 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 weakness. All of this weakness suggested to me that this was going to come up. I could have put my entry, when looking at the profile, I could have put my entry right here at 750. But I wanted to get it more than just a couple of ticks away from that low volume area. So I put it a little bit, actually, I wanted to put it at 775. I put it at 08. But that's where I wanted to put it, up there, looking for a breakout. Looking for, if this is all weakness, if this is weak and it comes back through this level, and this just came a little lower than I wanted it to. If this is all weak, then my expectation is that it's going to start to traverse the thick part of this profile and look to come back up to at least 1909, 1909 quarter. So if I'm in at 775, 08, you know, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get at least a scale. And I got 1025, 2.25 points on that. So that's why I decided to take the breakout. The other reason I decided to take the breakout and not the pullback is because if I got in at 775, that's where I should have gotten in. 775, I got in at 08. 775, look at the space I have for a pullback. It was going to happen really quick. 1, 2, 3 ticks. And my perspective on all of this weakness was if it finally came back through this low volume area, then the probability or the likelihood is that it was going to keep moving back up to that 1909 quarter, 1909 level, which would give me at least an initial scale. VCA settings for 6-4 chart. Yeah, let me bring these up. All right, I'm going to move that because I'm going to wind up trading, and I don't necessarily want to do that right now while I'm messing with my... All right, on this chart, here's my VCA settings. My responsive spread is 3. My initiating spread is 5. Custom color codes. I usually show secondary levels, and additional levels and period classification are false for me. Yep. Now, as I look at this, I don't see a scenario. There isn't a scenario here that I could have changed, that if I would have had, for example, a 3-4, 4-5 as my setting difference, I don't see an example here that would suggest I would have been able to stay in that trade. Now, look what we have here. Weakness at the tops, weakness at the bottom. This would be another potential breakout trade. See the weakness, 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 weakness. It's like nobody wants us. This is, or more so, this is just a bunch of short-term intraday traders just kind of taking profit here. Either way, it's so close to this low volume area that I'm not interested in taking a trade one way or the other. Now, there's a potential signal for me long. With 207 at the top, we got a neutral bar, at least right now as it's developing. I just don't like the auction. I don't like how this is continuing to go lower. I don't like that the buyers had an opportunity to take this higher, and then they just kept getting weak. I don't like that. So it tells me that this has potential to go lower. Now, what I'm also not real excited about right now, because we're continuing to pass through this low volume area, is I'm not real excited about necessarily just taking a short now off of this level as well. So I'm looking at the print. I see 20, 25.44 down here. And that's pretty significant. 26 now, 26.05. That's very heavy at the bid. Very, very heavy. But if it doesn't move, what does that tell you about all the sellers at 1906? All of that activity at the bid at 1906. It's being bought, it's being held, it's being absorbed, exactly. So this went weak, and look at that, just changed over again. There's too much back and forth. What I cannot see in this auction is specific conviction. I see specific conviction, like this move up. You see all the green, which suggests strong, but look at the sell side. The numbers are disgusting. I mean, that's terrible numbers on the ES. So yeah, this was all strong, but relative to the sell side here, it was awful. There was nothing to challenge them. So while this may show strength in moving up, and I got my target very quickly, there was nothing on the buy side that continued. And when the selling activity at the bid started again at 2076, what I would have seen if buyers in this market truly had conviction is I would have seen this activity likely met with buying activity, maybe at maybe back down to 1909.50, where the opening swing high is. But I didn't. I mean, look at the buying: 5, 234, 1119, or 119, 187, 47, 98. There's just no conviction to the upside. So outside of this at 1906, and this actually may prove to hold, and longs may be actually absorbing. I'm sorry, longs may be absorbing the sellers to look to get stops to finally run this area. I'm still looking for this level back up here and possibly higher. But there's too much activity around this low volume area right now for me to do anything with. So for right now, the bottom of this initial balance, and we're not done. We've got another 12 minutes before the IB, the first hour of trading, is over. The bottom of IB is 04.25. So at this point, with 12 minutes left in the IB, and with as much activity as happening around this low volume area, is I would just wait. There's absolutely no reason for me to take a trade. No reason. So that's the low of the IB. The high of the IB, of course, is up at 11 1/4. How do I keep getting that message? So what I would be looking for now, and this is the setup we talked about, I believe, yesterday. What I'd be looking for now in the profile, get rid of that, is for price to break one of these levels, either 1904.25 or 1911.25 after another 10, 11 minutes. So I want these levels to hold for another 10, 11 minutes. I want this to be the IB. So the IB is simply the first hour of trading, the range, top and bottom of the first hour of trading. And right now the high of this session is 11 1/4, and the low of this session is at 4 1/4. That's it. That's how you determine the IB. We've got 10 minutes left in this session. When the clock hits 10:30 Eastern time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, this is officially, IB is officially set. Now, here's another thing: is if price comes up a couple of minutes to a minute right before IB, and it starts flirting with this level just before IB is set, the 10:30 a.m. Eastern, this market's being tricky enough where what we just may see, and you got to be careful of this, is a couple of ticks to the upside and then a move back down below it, maybe even one tick. We'll see. But my preference would be that these levels hold. Same thing down here. If price, a couple of minutes before 10:30 Eastern sets and it starts flirting down here, we may see this thing go one tick, two ticks, and turn around. I won't take a short. This is a pullback scenario. This is not a breakout scenario for me. This trade is never a breakout scenario. What I would need to see is I would need to see volume starting to build. I want to see another distribution level below this area. I want to see this turn into a low volume area for the day, and I want to see volume starting to grow out. And then I will look to take a short on a retest of that area. Same thing with a long. Price comes up after IB is set. As long as the profile leaves this as a low volume area in the day and we start getting volume and another distribution higher, then on a pullback, I will take a long, 1150, 1175, looking for this 1125 to 11 to hold, and on up towards 1475, 15, and potentially higher. So during the day, we talked about this. My if-then scenario now is if IB holds to either side and price comes through IB to either side after it's set now in 7.5 minutes, then I will look to take a continuation trade in one of those directions. Yeah, Ben, that's exactly right. This is what you talked about when LVAs start to get filled in and it becomes dangerous. Yep. This is still a low volume area, but you know, the market respected it once, twice, and then look what started happening. Just passed right through it, passed through it, passed through it. And so what this tells me is that this low volume area at some point may start working, quote unquote, again, but it is not in the context of this current market. So I am not interested in this trade. Now, the other thing that I would do is look at the volume coming in. This was neutral up here. Look at the volume coming in, draw this trend line, and if we started getting volume and buying clusters back above this level, I may consider starting to look for a long. But in the realm of this activity and volume profile, relative to volume profile, there's no more trade until IB is broken and IB leaves, or that breaking leaves a low volume area. And then it's either short or long on a retest. So I've got my IB level set. I can open this up again. What actually would be great, and I don't think it's going to happen here. I see the buying coming in. Looks like we're going to be moving higher. Had a push down, then we had weakness. Weakness at the bid here again. This looks like it's going to push a little higher. And this actually might be an opportunity just to take a long right here at 07. But this whole bar right now is still developing. So you saw that it was a buying cluster. Now it's looks to be a selling cluster. If price starts coming back down below this level, I would still consider this as being as holding. I mean, DB, you're probably better at this strategy than I am, but that's the way that I would look at that. That this is holding, which would give me a little bit more confidence in taking this trade. Again, has to break this level. Going to watch closing swing low 325. Remember 325? Remember the significance of 325? Yeah, I can show you the momentum settings in a second. Anybody remember the significance of 325? Would have seen it yesterday. Or the pre-market yesterday. Remember in the pre-market yesterday, this price was coming down. As price is coming down, there was a significant buyer that came in at 325. So I don't know how you would define this market this morning, but I would define this as very choppy, volatile. Here's settlement again. Here's a close. I can't get through that. Having some difficulty. And a relatively difficult market to trade in. I mean, even on the minute chart, and again, I just use this for volume. When I see wicks and tails like this on just my minute bars, when you see big wicks and tails on a minute chart, that tells you that price is relatively volatile. And typically, what I'd prefer to see is big bodies on the chart and not wicks and tails, because it's a short amount of time. It tells me we're getting responsive selling and buying, and prices moving pretty strongly, very quickly. Very, very choppy, very difficult to trade in. So watch this profile down here. Remember when I said that got to be careful if this thing starts ticking right in front of IB being set. IB is about 2.5 minutes away. IB being set. Whenever price, excuse me, whenever price is kind of flirting with an edge of an IB, a minute or so in front of the IB being set, which is now a minute and a half. The thing you have to be careful for is for this thing, don't take the breakout, because sometimes what you'll get is you'll get 1 or 2 ticks down below the IB, and then it'll just turn in the other direction. Maybe even 3, 1, 2 to 3 ticks and turn in the other direction. What I want to see beyond, and now I have to move this because IB is now here. Getting strength back to the bid. Now, if I would have just had a long bias all day, I could have been in trouble. What I do want you to see now is the profile. See this little nub of volume right there at 1904? That's, as price is moving up, that says all of this was being held, at least right now. Price was being held down here at 04. Remember, there was a big buyer right here at 3 1/4, which is where the closing swing low is right now. Sellers hitting the bid at 1904. Sellers are hitting the bid. Buyers are holding with limit orders. That's the only way that price did not go down here. But that's not a small number. I mean, when I read the print as a process, I look at 1738 and 1107 compared to what was going on before, and what I can see is that sellers' activity to the bid is starting to get aggressive again down here. Okay, our IB is set. Here's VPOC today, 1906. I suppose I could extend this. I will show you the settings, the other settings in the 6-4 chart. Okay, we're closing swing high, weakness, strength at the bid. Now, if you were maybe playing a little bit more risk, then you could potentially take a long here, but it's not my trade. Neutral, buying, price is moving. It's going to continue higher, at least another tick. It's not done at 06 quarter. And I can just see that from the way it's auctioning. It's not done there. More buyers.